Those of you who don't know, some of you do, I'm Kathleen St. John, I'm the owner. And we are doing pressure cooking today. How many of you have cooked with a pressure cooker before? Are you all here because you haven't cooked with a pressure cooker? You have.
I've played with it.
You've played with it. With success? With not success?
With success.
Okay, so the deal with a pressure cooker is that it's sort of the opposite, obviously, of a slow cooker. Slow cooker, it's going to take 3, 4, 6, 8 hours to do whatever it is that you want to do. Great to turn it on in the morning, go to work, come home, have your pot roast done, whatever. But the problem with slow cookers is that a lot of people don't take the time to brown the meat separately and then put it in your slow cooker, and it's really important to do that step to get that nice crust to enable your meat to have more flavor, and it also prevents your meat from having just sort of that gray, mushy look at the end that we don't like. So, the idea behind a pressure cooker, obviously, is that we are taking now 50 to 70% of your cooking time off. This is not something that you're going to put on the stove and then go take a shower and, do your nails and all that. You have to sort of be in the general vicinity when it's going on. They're designed differently than they were when our grandmothers had them. Okay, they're still going to hiss and pop and make some noises, but they've got so many safety features on them now as far as preventing explosions that they're pretty safe.
I'm still scared of it though.
Okay, so the one that we carry here in the store is Fager. A couple years ago when we decided to get into pressure cookers, we did a lot of research. There were a lot of other brands out there that were pretty high end, and there were some brands that were fairly low end and still sort of looked like your grandmother's pressure cooker. And we went to the food show in Chicago, the Houseware show, and we met up with several companies. They all originated at some point in time in Spain, so it's a Spanish invention, if you will. And Fager is a Spanish company. And the reason we chose them was because they, one, not only had great reviews with Consumer Reports and Cooks Illustrated and their partner America's Test Kitchen, which are all things that we look at when we're deciding to bring a new product in. They were also moderately priced. And like I said, I didn't want to get into something that was really kind of low end, but I didn't want to get into something that was going to be $300 either. Pricing wise, they have, for the 10 quart, you've got just the 10 quart, and then which is, I think, around $100. I think then for $120 you can get the 10 quart with all the canning accessories. The one that is the Duo, which I talked about, as far as the 8 quart with the 4 quart, I believe is $149.99. Now I do have some on the floor right now. I don't have a huge selection. I kind of was waiting to see in the class, if somebody wants something, we can place an order. They come fairly quickly, so that's not a huge issue. The other thing we're going to play around with today also is induction heat. Okay, we can also use the traditional electric or gas with these, but your heat regulation with a pressure cooker is key. This is an induction burner. It is actually also a Fager, and I also have a portable induction burner which we sell by Fager, which is actually a pretty nice piece of equipment, and you can take it with you, and especially if you're doing anything where you're going to go to people's houses and things like that. So, I started one thing, which are the beans, and I'm going to show you that, but I want to get chicken stock going. Traditionally, chicken stock takes a long time, right? So, for our chicken stock, same components as a regular chicken stock, which is going to take anywhere from 3 to 4 hours on the stove to cook, sometimes longer if you're doing a huge pot. This is going to take 45 minutes. Okay, so in my pot I have some chicken, some bones. Actually, I had a piece of breast in the freezer, so I threw that in there, wing tips, backbones, things like that. If you cut your own chickens up and can stockpile the bones, great. Otherwise, if you ever go to the West Side Market, you can buy chicken bones. You can, I think at Acme, you can buy packages of backs and necks, which is what you want. I'm just going to coarsely chop this stuff up. And these are little food taxi to get everything over there. You can peel these, you don't necessarily have to. I don't always when I'm doing this. Nice thing about stock is you can kind of just put everything in. It's a great way to use up what you can't use. Okay, we're just going to use some celery as well. So, Mirepoix vegetables, celery, carrots, onions, chicken bones.
Catherine, you ever roast the bones before you?
You can. What we're making here is a blonde stock. Okay? You can roast the bones, sheet pan, 400 degrees, 30-40 minutes. Get them nice and caramelized. I don't like to roast the vegetables. I like to use the fresh vegetable flavor in there, but you could roast the vegetables if you wanted to. Okay, and then we have what's called our bouquet garni. Now, if you want, you can put it in a little satchel, so you can just pull it out, but all this is going to get strained anyway, right? So we have a handful of parsley stems, a bay leaf, which goes in the pot now, so some fresh thyme, and peppercorns. So everything goes in, and then we're going to cover it with fresh, clean, cold water. Now with a pressure cooker, it's always liquid based. Okay, you're always going to use liquid, but I don't want to go so high with the water that liquid starts spewing out, because there is a valve here that keeps things sort of...
So you just have it like a couple inches from the top?
I'm sorry, what?
You just have it, the water, a couple
Yeah,
inches?
I've got it. It's probably, can you see it in the mirror?
Yeah.
It's probably about 4 inches down.
Okay.
You don't want to go so high. Now, on the handle, there's a little line here, and then there's a line here. There's a gasket here. This comes out when you wash it. I always then put a little bit of Pam spray on my hands, and you want to oil the gasket a little bit each time. One, it's going to help it go back on easier. Two, it's going to prevent the gasket from drying out and cracking. Okay, so we close it. We're going to go high heat to start. This is our pressure valve right here on top. This is for releasing pressure. Then you have low pressure and high pressure. So I have 1, I have 2. I want to go all the way to 2, and then I'm going to push the lock up. I now can't move this handle. I can't open it. I can't do anything. There's a little yellow button right here. You can see it on this one. This one, the button's up. That means I still have pressure going. All right? So I have achieved pressure when this little yellow button or tab pops up. I do not start my timing until that has happened. Once that's happened, what I'm going to do is then turn the heat down as low as I can go and still maintain that pressure. So for this particular stovetop, high is 12. I can typically hold pressure on here until it's down to probably about 5 or 6. But so it's a medium low.
Do you always cook on 2? I have that same pressure cooker.
You don't always cook on 2, but for most of what we're doing today, like if I'm steaming vegetables, if I'm going to pressure cook some vegetables or something like that, then I will cook on
1?
On 1.
Okay, so if it's a more delicate.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so here's our black beans. I have this turned off now, but I'm still in pressure. So once we want to check on this, or our time's up, and we want to release our pressure, there's 3 ways you can do it. You can just turn it off and let it sit. This will come down.